now going to turn to a very tough senatorial primary in the great state of Mississippi, and we have the challenger. He is Chris McDaniel. Chris, the reason I wanted to have John Sexton on talk about Piketty's book is that more than any candidate, and I was fortunate enough to go to Harvard Business School, work at Goldman Sachs, and I made a movie about the financial meltdown a couple of years ago. Maybe other than Ted Cruz when he ran, I have never seen a candidate really address what a terrible shape the balance sheet of the United States government is. And you are the only challenger I've ever heard that talks about the $100 trillion, $150 trillion, $200 trillion of unfunded liabilities that the United States is eventually going to have to pay. What got your interest in economics and finance, and why are you making it such a centerpiece of your campaign?
Well, I think Mississippians understand the significance of it. I've got two kids. I've got a 2-year-old and a 7-year-old, and my dream was always to leave them a better country than the one I inherited. And based on those numbers, it's fairly clear that's not going to happen. At some point, the adults have to enter the room. We have to start making tough decisions on the future of this country. And I, for one, we're tired of kicking the can down the road. Some significant cuts in spending have to take place, and Mississippi is a good place to lead that charge because we still are the most conservative state in the republic. So the message is resonating. People are ready for change, and that's where we're going to win on June the 3rd.
Chris, why do you think that the Republican establishment, which really is should be the party of President Reagan, why have they consistently voted for debt increases? Why have they not fought the president tooth and nail on increases to federal spending? Why have they not come to grips, under their watch, with the President of the United States? The Republican establishment saw the downgrading of the United States debt for the first time since the formation of the Republic. Why do you think the establishment, who should know better and should be the party of capitalism, why have they just allowed this to happen?
At its core, it's just a matter of self-preservation. These politicians, they're not willing to make the tough decisions because they're unwilling to risk not being reelected. And so it's a lack of courage. It's a lack of principle. It's the number one reason I think our party is waving banners of pastel colors, not bold colors, the way we always were, or the way we always should have been. And we're seeing it across the country. It seems no one has the courage to take the right stand. We've seen Cruz do it, and Mike Lee do it, and Rand Paul do it, and a handful of others. These older guys especially, they're stuck in a status quo system, unwilling to change. And you know what? For those of us who are young, those of us with young kids, we can't do the status quo any longer. It's time for change, and that change has to take place right now.
You actually have come out. I'm going to get to Governor Palin's endorsement of you in a second, but I want to talk about you've actually come out and had a full-throated agreement with and support of the conservative reform agenda, which Mike Lee and Ted Cruz, and particularly Mike Lee, has been the author of. Why has that grabbed you, and why, besides the terrible shape the country's finances are in, why have you jumped on the bandwagon of the conservative reform agenda? What does it mean to you, and what does it mean to people in the state of Mississippi?
Well, it means a lot. We conservatives, particularly Republicans, we've been called the party of no. And, of course, that's a good thing sometimes. When someone tries to erode our constitutional rights, we have to say no. When someone tries to spend too much or usurp the constitutional boundaries, we have to say no. But at the same time, we can be proactive. And Mike Lee has laid out there several steps from anti-cronyism legislation all the way down to term limits and or even welfare reform. And these are things that a good, intelligent conversation needs to take place around. And Senator Lee's been great at kind of leading that charge. And so we've adopted his platform, and I look forward to working with him in D.C.
One of the things, and one of the reasons I think Governor Palin came and endorsed you is that you're a fighter, and you stand for certain basic, fundamental conservative principles. What I think a lot of people in the audience, and a lot of people, I see this in the comment section at Breitbart, where we've been following this race very closely, they don't understand why the establishment, or the establishment candidate, Senator Cochran, why they have not engaged you more in debates, why there has not been a free flow of ideas. I mean, when you first started to run, I think it was Haley Barber, one of the guys down there, put a threat out, we'll make him regret this, etc. Why has it been so vitriolic and kind of mean-spirited, and why have they not engaged you on this battleground of ideas? Because your ideas are very different than Senator Cochran's. You oppose a lot of the stuff that he voted for. You oppose a lot of the debt ceiling increases. You oppose a lot of the spending. You support the conservative reform agenda. There is a wide gap between you and Senator Cochran. Why have they not engaged you in an active, ongoing debate about these ideas?
Well, they recognize in a debate that Senator Cochran simply can't defend his record. There's a reason that the American Conservative Union gave him a D-minus during the Obama presidency and refused to endorse him in this race. He has voted for just about every tax increase imaginable. He has voted to raise the debt ceiling every time the votes come up. He's voted to bail out Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. He voted for the Cash for Clunkers program. If you can imagine a bad vote from the conservative standpoint, Senator Cochran has cast it. And so what they choose to do instead, they give lip service to conservatism. But when it comes right down to it, they know he cannot defend his record. And that's why they want to talk about everything else in the world besides his voting record. And we've offered debates. I've asked him to come sit down with me. I don't care if it's a radio show, a TV show, or for that matter, on the courthouse steps across the state. And he simply will not do it. And it goes to show, after 42 years, he doesn't have a record to defend.
You were one of the first, if not the first person to actually sign this pledge from FAIR about amnesty, about no amnesty. What compelled you to sign that, and why do you think it's so important?
There's a handful of reasons. First of all, Mississippi is still struggling with high unemployment, and that's not something that our state enjoys one bit. To get our state off the bottom, we have to find ways to create economic opportunity. Of course, that's not done by federal intervention and intervention into the free market. What we do, however, as a state is to create the right atmosphere for growth. But until then, we certainly can't have illegal aliens coming in and taking jobs that belong to Mississippians. Right now, our unemployment rate is about 8.5%. That's 2 points higher than our sister state, Alabama. And the one big distinction there is that one state has Jeff Sessions as a senator and the other has Thad Cochran as a senator. We just need to find ways to make sure we take care of American workers first. And a good place to do that is to send a strong message that amnesty is not going to be supported.
Governor Palin has said from day one, the way you start to turn things around is you get more Mike Lees and Ted Cruz's in the United States Senate. And I think it's one of the reasons that she has come in and supported Chris McDaniel in this race in Mississippi. Chris, I know it's going to be a very tough slog between now and June 3rd. How can people find out more about your campaign? If they want to get more information, if they want to find out more about you as a person, how can they find out more?
A good place to start is the website, of course. It's just www.McDaniel2014.com. Just McDaniel2014.com, and issues page, and our favorite button there is the donate page.
This is a grassroots organization, after all.
Absolutely, that's the favorite button we've got. So press it as many times as you can up to the limit, and come see us. We'd love to have you in the state. Mississippi is the hospitality state, so come on down here, knock on some doors. And if not, send your love other ways, but we would love to see you.
Chris McDaniel is running for the United States Senate against Thad Cochran on June 3rd. There's going to be a primary. It is the focus of really politics in this country today. Governor Palin has supported him. He supports the conservative reform agenda of Mike Lee and Ted Cruz. Chris, thank you very much.